There's a new virus in the database.
We have a zero bug attacking all login and overlay files.
Run antivirus. Give me a systems display.
Down 176 to 26.
Good day, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this episode of The Rising Cyber. We have with us Professor Robin Doss, Director at the Center for Cyber Resilience and Trust at Deakin University. In addition, Dr. Doss leads Deakin University's participation in the Cybersecurity Cooperative Research Center and the themed leader for the research on development of next-generation authentication technologies. With a long list of articles and research papers, most recent papers were regarding analysis of misbehavior detection for intelligent transport systems and weak key analysis for post-quantum key encapsulations, just to name a few here. Dr. Doss, welcome. It is a pleasure to be here talking with you today, and thanks for your time.
Thanks so much, Chadi. A real pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you. You received your doctorate in philosophy from the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology in 2004. Can you please tell us a little bit about your career and what led you into the path of research and higher education?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Chadi. So, I came to Australia as an international student to pursue my master's after completing an undergrad degree in engineering back in India. And through the course of my master's, I had the privilege of interacting with several professors who had research projects going on, and was exposed to what research was about. And as I was nearing the end of my master's, I was offered a PhD scholarship, which was a bit of a surprise, but I also thought it would be a great experience to sort of go down the research and innovation path. And that's where it sort of started. And haven't, looked back since, for want of a better phrase. But it's been an interesting journey, sort of working in research and innovation, both in a university sector, but also I've had the opportunity to work in places like IBM Research, which have a more of a perhaps an industry focus or an applied focus to research. So sort of having the opportunity to work more at the discovery side of research, but also the applied side of research, and has been quite interesting and a great career path.
Yeah, I've been looking into your paper and researches with the IEEE and NIST, and it's such an amazing body of work you've produced, and we'll talk about a little bit about them shortly. We can't discuss all of them because there's a lot of work you've produced. Can you tell us a little bit about that center and what work they do?
Absolutely. So the Center for Cyber Resilience and Trust is a new center at Deakin University that was established in 2023, building on the strong foundations and successes of a previous cybersecurity focused center, which was CSRI, or the Center for Cyber Security Research and Innovation. And essentially, CREST is a revisioning of the university's research focus in this space, with the intended aim of delivering research impact that can translate to building safe and secure communities, which is a stated aim as part of Deakin University's research agenda. So we were very intentional when CREST was envisioned and established in terms of the research platform to really develop a holistic, what we've termed as a 360-degree view of cyber, which brings together technology, the social aspects of cyber, human behavior, and also the organizational and legal aspects of cyber as well. So in terms of the remit of the center, we work towards having impact in 5 areas, which are advancing cybersecurity technologies, so creating new technologies, next generation technologies, whether it's in authentication, as you sort of referred to in your introduction, or in other areas as well. The second area of impact we want to have is around securing data and infrastructure. Critical infrastructure security is a huge focus for us as a nation. Securing data, the impact of quantum computing, post-quantum security, as you mentioned in your introduction as well. The third area of focus is around disrupting cyber harms, and we're going to talk about the cybersecurity strategy that's just been released as well, and therefore, understanding threat actors from a social context, disrupting their networks. How do you actually carry out policing activity against criminal groups? So sort of looking at it from a social science and criminology angle, and is the third area of focus for us. The fourth area of focus is around promoting cyber safe behavior. So this is about how do you elevate cybersecurity maturity, awareness, education, and just that, I guess, behavior change that we want to bring in the broader community around taking responsibility for your cyber safety with the correct supports and scaffolding structures in place, as well as the fourth area of impact. And the fifth area is very much around the law and policy component of cyber, what we term as harmonizing cyber governance, bringing together disconnected and disparate regulatory frameworks, which might be burdensome on organizations and individuals and businesses, to make it holistic, harmonized, and effective, delivering impact from a legal perspective and regulatory perspective as well. So those are the 5 areas of impact. Obviously, we work closely with industry, government, and business. We have about 70 PhD students that are working on cutting edge projects as part of the center as well. And we have people like yourself who support us with your expert knowledge and perspectives as well. So we are positioned to be multidisciplinary whole of university, which is quite a unique positioning for a cybersecurity research center. But we think that's what differentiates us and brings value to the communities that we serve.
Brilliant. What's the priority for 2024 with all the challenges in the landscape? Is there any focus things that you want to do with the center?
I think definitely one of the things we want to play a constructive role in is helping to advance the cybersecurity strategy for the country. So at the end of the day, as a research and innovation center, we want to deliver value for our community, both locally and internationally as well. So in terms of looking at how through our research capability we can contribute constructively to advance the cybersecurity strategy would definitely be a key area of focus for us. And in terms of the capabilities that we bring to the table, given that breadth of expertise from the technology side through to the social science or human aspects through to the regulatory aspects, which gets a lot of mention in the cybersecurity strategy. I think those would be the 3 areas that we would want to definitely advance ourselves in terms of help advance the cybersecurity strategy. Obviously, specific areas of focus for us exist as a center as well. 2 main areas would be around the role of AI in cybersecurity or machine learning in cybersecurity, as well as the impact of quantum computing as well. And our perspectives when it comes to AI and machine learning is essentially, we like to think of it as AI for cybersecurity or machine learning for cybersecurity, and then the flip side of that, which is about security of AI and machine learning as well. So how do you build trust, explainability into those systems, and rather than sort of thinking of them as, say, black box models that we just adopt and trust. So that's one of the areas. And then, post-quantum security is an area that we have been focusing on over the last maybe 18 to 24 months now. And that would be, I guess, an ongoing area of focus, which is from the technology side. But then I think there's a huge focus that needs to be there on the human behavior side of things as well. Yeah. And one aspect would be around how do we actually just elevate that cybersecurity awareness in the broader community and build that resilience in the community in terms of how they can thrive, if you like, in a digital economy, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously, from the policy side of things as well, we have initiatives in that space.
Yeah, you mentioned both things like AI and quantum computing that were mentioned in the strategy. We'll get back to them later because I want to ask you about these 2 subjects there as well. Last week was Deakin University Cyber Conference. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened in the conference, some highlights of what went there?
Yeah, it was a full 2 days. Lots of really good discussion. So I guess if I just go back to why we established and ran the event, which is now in its third year, essentially was to provide a platform that brings together business, government, and research to have a conversation around some of the challenges that we are facing together as a nation, pretty much. So to talk about, I guess, the impact that cybersecurity incidents have, not just in an abstract way on the economy, for instance, but on individuals, on businesses, small to medium enterprises, our friends, our families, and communities, if you like. So we had a really good discussion on topics such as online safety, digital safety, for instance, the policy opportunity that exists for Australia from a cyber perspective, both in the national context, but perhaps even more broadly from a diplomatic context in the region and more globally as well, the whole space around cyber diplomacy. And then obviously the opportunities that we have as a nation in terms of new technologies that can be created and that can sort of help protect the nation, but also provide or position Australia as a leader when it comes to cybersecurity innovation and research and translation of those research into services and products and so on. So we were really privileged to have industry leaders speaking. Of course, it was a huge honor for us to have Brendan Dowling, the Ambassador for Cyber Affairs and Critical Technology, spend a day with us as well, which was coincidentally the day before the release of the cybersecurity strategy. So we did have, I guess, the privilege of having a little bit of a sneak preview into what was coming, which was really, really great. And it was just an opportunity for open discussion, dialogue, and even hear from Mike Lowy, who was a startup founder, about challenges of getting a startup from the ground up. Also we recognize that it's not just about science and technology, it's also about how do we build people in this industry as individuals. So one of the tracks we had was around professional development as well. So we had a couple of workshops. One was around overcoming imposter syndrome, which a lot of us suffer from, and about strategies that we can adopt. And the second one was about government relations bootcamp, sort of talking about how engagement with government is important and what might be some effective ways of doing that as well. So thanks for the opportunity to provide an overview of the conference.
Is there any recording we can watch?
We ran it as a completely face-to-face event this year, so we didn't actually have any provision for recordings, but maybe for next year. Yes. So we've been asked this question more than once now.
That's great. Since you mentioned with the Australian cybersecurity strategy and the 2030 vision, what do you think about it? Is it just enough, or is it was there enough consultation with the industry? What's your views on that?
Well, I think the effort to consult, from the government was definitely there. I think the government held consultations with, I think the figures were something like 700 stakeholders. But what was quite surprising for me was the number of submissions in response to the discussion paper that was put out by the government. I think there was about 330 submissions, which seems on the lower side when you think of the scale of the problem that we're dealing with and the importance of the problem. And the challenges that we face as a nation. So I guess when it comes to consultation, you can always say there can be more consultation, but I don't think the government can be faulted in terms of their intention to consult.
I agree.
But I think when it comes to a strategy, obviously the action plan that accompanies it is an important first step. But then how that's, implemented, how that's evaluated, all of which are referred to in the strategy, how that's evaluated and how it stays as a live document, I suppose, and a moving target always in terms of cyber operations. We talk about cyber deception strategies that include moving target as a defense. So I guess, when it comes to implementing strategy and putting in place strategy as well, it's always a moving piece, right? So how do we stay ahead of the curve when it comes to the threat landscape, and how do we stay informed in a continual basis to respond dynamically and effectively? I think would be challenges.
Definitely.
Moving forward.
And I think there was some negative criticism on that, and I don't think it was fair to put that. And one of the best strategies, I know we've done few strategies in the past 3 years in Australia, but this one is very practical, pragmatic, and scientific with the shields that they have and the horizon, as they said, to make it living document of measuring each horizon from a couple of years, what we need to do and what should be set. I think this is brilliant. And that brings me to, I will quote from the exact strategy on Shield 2, which is safe technology, regarding emerging technology safety. And following Australia's commitment to the Bletchley Declaration at the AI Safety Summit in November 2023, Australia will continue to work with other government, civil society, tech sector to ensure that AI is designed, deployed, developed, and used in a manner that is safe, secure, trustworthy, and responsible. This is brilliant to have in the strategy concerning AI and addressing these things. What do you think we need to do as a nation to evolve with the artificial intelligence? Because it's something happening and we need to be looking from now how to adapt and develop safe AI measures.
Absolutely. So I think definitely, with all emerging technologies, and AI seems like the one that gets most of the news cycles these days. I think with something like with technology in general, obviously it's very hard to control the pace at which technology evolves, and also have a clear view of how technology can be applied. So there is use of technology, and with any emerging technology, it's accompanied by abuse as well. And AI is a classic example of this. There are others as well, right? So I think one of the things that we need to do as a nation, and perhaps sooner rather than later, is come up with, ethical frameworks that have industry buy-in and community buy-in in terms of how AI specifically can be adopted, used, leveraged for good rather than bad. And also, when it comes to buy-in, like codes of practice and things like that might help as well. But I guess when it comes to professional bodies as well, I think as individuals, all of us go through different code of ethics that we sign up to as engineers or computer science professionals or cybersecurity professionals as well. And I think those individual codes of conduct need to address use of emerging technologies as well, that as individuals and as professionals in this space that we sign up to as well. And it's one thing to sign up to, but then I guess organizations staying true to those codes of practice when perhaps there is economic gain or advantage to be gained by pushing the boundaries of the use of these technologies. I think, those things, putting the greater good, I think is important as well. Obviously, there's economic benefit and, not necessarily a purely economic benefit, but even from a cybersecurity perspective, the scale of the problem that we are dealing with needs the power of machine learning and AI for us to be effective defenders as well. So, yeah.
Definitely. And there's another point as well regarding the post-quantum encryption era as well, that is mentioned in the same section. And this is lead me to the question, as one of the main theme in your research and development for next generation authentication technology, how do you think authentication and encryption would be post-quantum era? Like, what preparation should organizations start doing from now, maybe, or it's still a little bit early, or they need to start prepping from now and changing what they need to be doing?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, Charlie, because depending on who you speak to, some people have the view that quantum is not going to be a reality for the next 20 years, so we don't really need to worry about it. Others are like, oh, you need to have a transition to quantum plan. But obviously, from a research and innovation perspective, we are always looking at a horizon when it comes to the research and innovation activities that we're doing. So obviously, through NIST, that still continues to be perhaps the set, if you like, the gold standard when it comes to information security and technologies in general in the US. Obviously, they've gone through a process of identifying post-quantum encryption schemes that's sort of gone through a competitive process of evaluation. So it's a problem that we will need to deal with, and all organizations would need to deal with. But I guess when it comes to the broader community that is facing this problem, whether that's the information security community broadly or more specifically the cryptographic community, then looking at how we can address that problem from now is going to be important. But I guess even now we are looking at companies sort of asking the question around what it means to be quantum safe.
Yeah.
And one of the key areas when it comes to post-quantum security is obviously the problem of data harvesting. So we use classical encryption technologies that give us a level of security and comfort now, which obviously quantum technologies would reduce drastically. So the question organizations need to ask, I guess, is if data that I'm storing now is being harvested by adversaries, what protection does it give me? And in the I guess the climate of data breaches being so common, I guess that's a real challenge that we face. So
it's a fair question.
Yeah. So is it here and now? It's not, but it's in I guess my personal view is there's a tendency for technology to sort of surprise us, right? So I think it will be here before it will surprise us when it comes, and at that point in time, it's better that we are prepared than we are not.
Yeah, exactly. And from my understanding, NIST has already maybe adapting like Crystal and Delirium, Kyber, and Delirium.
Yeah, so with the CREST, I guess standardization process, there have been like the winners of the process, and there's sort of the competition, and then there's been the sort of I guess not necessarily secondary schemes, but potential schemes as well, in case the initial schemes have some weakness that found out in the future. We have some backups,
Yeah, I noticed one of your papers research like the bit flipping key encapsulation.
Yes. So specific to that work, one of the things, the main contributions of that work is identifying or developing an algorithm that can identify weak keys that are used in post-quantum systems. So it's one thing to have a post-quantum system, but if your choice of keys are weak, then obviously that doesn't give you the highest level of expected security. So that's the main contribution.
Yeah, and I've seen as well the Shaw and Grover combined together. These two algorithms with quantum computing will break any encryption that we have today. So it is like a serious challenge, I think, within the next 7 years. We'll be facing.
It will surprise us. Just like ChatGPT suddenly popped.
But by surprise, like we didn't know about it. How do you see like the vision of maybe the next 5 years that you give like any CISO, someone in leadership in cybersecurity would have to start look into for the next 5 years, maybe?
I think probably two broad areas, if you like, Chari. One I feel would be around identity. I think identity is going to be huge, and as we sort of move more into the digital ID space, then obviously the opportunities that presents, as well as some of the risks that presents as well, I think would be an area that requires careful consideration. And also, I believe, as we move rapidly into that digital ID space, things like access and inclusivity and how that affects perhaps, people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds or educational backgrounds, and all of those aspects, I think would be a huge area. But I think it also presents a huge opportunity from a privacy perspective, and also giving citizens and individuals more ownership over their own personal information as well. So, movements like self-sovereign identity, verifiable credentials, all of these aspects, we have projects in verifiable credentials going on at the moment as well in the center, is really about, moving into that digital identity space, removing the burden from organizations and businesses to store huge amounts of personal information, and giving users more control over their personal data, which in a sense breaks, if you like, the honeypot that adversaries are after from a personal information. That's basically what a data, from a data breach perspective, right? So I think that would definitely be a huge area of focus. The second space, probably, and sort of linked to identity in a way, is around zero trust architectures, and sort of moving as a business into that zero trust space. I know, anybody you talk to these days uses zero trust, or talks about zero trust. But I think having a clear understanding of what zero trust is and how you actually implement it in its fullest sense within an organization or business perspective, I think would be important. So staying true to the tenets of zero trust, in terms of, obviously it's a journey. It's not something that you sort of buy an off-the-shelf product, but it's something that you sort of try and implement within your organization. I think across, I guess, the dimensions of technology, the human aspects and the governance aspects as well, I think would be very important. And I know I said two things, but perhaps a third thing that I throw into the mix there is, I guess, looking at the challenge that we face in cybersecurity as not just an isolated problem that affects me as an individual or my organization, right? It's something that affects everybody. So in terms of how we can bring the community together, how we can actually play a constructive role together with government, business, academia, research, all of the pieces coming together, and how each of us can make a constructive contribution to that conversation, whether it's around threat intelligence or educational and awareness programs that are effective or not effective. And I think how that affects everybody from young people to the senior citizens in our country, I think would be probably the three that I would mention. Yes.
With the strategy, they mentioned like 11 sections of critical infrastructures, and two of these sectors are education, higher education, and research, and transport. What do these sectors need to do to be more protected or included within that strategy? Is there any extra work that we're already working on, or it's still in the pipelines?
I think the short answer would be, Chadi, there is always more to do, right?
Yeah.
So when we talk about education and research, and obviously universities are a huge part of the research and innovation activities that occur in the country. And because of, I suppose, the huge volume of personal information that we store. So for instance, at Deakin University, there's an excess of 60,000 students, and the huge amount of personal information that we store, the amount of new IP that's created from the research and innovation activities makes us a huge, makes us a very attractive target, if you like.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think it's extremely important for us, both from a responsibility to our students and staff, as well as in terms of just the commercial interests that come from the research and innovation and the intellectual property that it's created, that we think carefully about what it means to be cyber safe and cyber secure as well. And, we talked about things like zero trust. I know that's a journey that we are on as well as an organization in terms of improving our cybersecurity posture. But universities are sort of, in a sense, microcosms of the broader community as well. We have students from different ends of the socioeconomic spectrum, and sort of going back to my previous comments around inclusivity and affordability of cybersecurity technologies. Also, I guess another aspect is around usable cybersecurity as well, right? We want to create new technologies that can be easily adopted by the community, not requiring them to be highly technical in nature, for instance, to set up a physical token as a second factor of authentication or something like that. And you mentioned transport as the other sector, Chadi. I think transport is going to be a huge area that we will need to look at as we see, the transition to electric vehicles, but I guess the transition to autonomous vehicles and self-driving cars, and the impact of cyber incidents or can have in that context, from not just stealing of personal information, but the physical harm that can eventuate, I think is huge as well. And I think as things become more automated, cyber safety and security need to be front and center of adoption and trust in technologies as well.
It become like physical harm can be caused. It's not stealing your credit card.
Indeed, it did.
I want to end with, I think one of the most important parts is preparing the new generation and new people in the security industry. So what advice you have for student, young professional joining into the cybersecurity industry or the technology?
I think the main advice I would give, I guess, any student is pursue the path that you think or know, if you can. It's a strong term. That will give you satisfaction and that you will enjoy, right? So look at it as a career. And I think that's important because in cybersecurity, there's different dimensions to cybersecurity, right? So there's the technology side of things, there's the regulatory side of things, there's the governance, risk, compliance side of things, there's the sort of human aspects around cyber as well. So I think, obviously, a solid grounding in cybersecurity as a discipline would help. But I think when you're thinking of a career, like, aspire to the path that will give you the satisfaction that you can have the greatest impact, for a good day's work, right? So that would be, like, I guess, the basic advice. But in terms of, I guess, pursuing qualifications, perhaps I'm a little bit biased, but I do feel that going to university, getting a formal qualification in the discipline that you're interested in, and now we are quite diverse in terms of cybersecurity course offerings as well. So it's not all just about cybersecurity technologies. You can do double degrees, even at Deakin, for instance, with cybersecurity and criminology, for instance, that gives you that intersection between the technology side of things and the sort of criminology or social sciences aspects. We also have, cybersecurity with law, for instance. So if you want to go down that path as well, that's an avenue as well. So I think carefully about the formal training that you want to undertake, right? So that would be the first, I guess, that gives you the foundation. And then once you have that foundation, you can build a palace over it, right?
Exactly.
If you don't have that foundation, then you're going to be, I feel, on very sort of shaky ground. And I say shaky ground because then the impact that you can make or the agility that you have to move into new opportunities might be more limited, right? If you had a very, if you just had a very focused skill set. So I think have that broad grounding. And then the second advice would be in terms of connecting with practitioners. I don't want to use the word industry because that might be viewed as a technology specific term, but practitioners broadly and understand the different dimensions of cybersecurity. So even if you have a technology mindset, understand the importance of the human aspects, understand the importance of the regulatory aspects, so that you have that breadth and you're equipped to have the higher level conversations within your organization itself. And that's where I think the importance of networking cannot be understated. So even as an undergraduate student, go to meetups or go to ASA conferences or come to the Deakin conference. Because then you get to expose to thought leaders, people who have been there, done it, and you can have those conversations, you make those connections, and that, who knows, can lead on to new things. And as a classic example, we had an undergrad student at our Deakin Cyber Conference that met a CISO of a large organization and got invited to come spend some time in their SOC. That's a very, single conversation can lead on to significant opportunities, right? So
100%.
I think that's the advice I would sort of give, perhaps, students and young people who are looking for careers. But I think if I sort of flip that around and I say, what would I tell people who are looking for talent? I think one message that I would probably caution against is, please don't tell young people that you don't need to go to university or you don't need a formal qualification to work in cybersecurity, because I think which may be true in the sense of, yes, you can get a job in cyber without having a university degree if you have the skill sets, which is great. But I think what it does as a nation, if you like, is it puts us a little bit behind other countries where formal training and deep understanding of the science behind the technology or the legal frameworks and doesn't prepare us to really be, as the cybersecurity strategy says, global leaders pushing the frontiers of the discipline, right? So I think, different qualifications, training regimes have different roles to play, but I think the importance of a university education should not be, I guess, underestimated or understated.
Correct. I still remember a lot of courses from my university in coding, and back to this day, and they do help. I think it's 100% having a solid foundation is key to the success. Dr. Robin Doss, thank you for your time today. I do appreciate your time and taking that off your day to talk to us. Thank you so much, and hope as well I can have you in a different podcast where we have more time to discuss more about the work and paperwork that you produced in encryption and in security, because I was very amazed by the body of work that you have. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Chari. Really enjoyed this conversation and really appreciate the opportunity to have this chat. I guess I'll take this opportunity to wish you and your listeners a safe and relaxing holiday and Christmas season, and look forward to more chats in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Robin, and as well for CREST, all the best for the future, and I'm sure the wonderful work will continue happening as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chadi. Thanks so much.
The Rising Cyber by Chad Sally B.